What if I could generate 7 figures in revenue? What if I could attract 100 clients? If you run away from it, you cannot be great. You can't build a 7-figure business. You can't have a ton of impact. You just can't. Today, I'm going to share 7 breakthrough ideas with you that are going to make your journey to 7 figures, your first or next 7 figures in revenue, so much easier. Okay. So I just concluded a first time event that we had in the EntreMD Business School where I hosted an event. We called it the 7-Figure Leap Challenge. And so this is for people who want to leap to their first or next 7 figures in revenue. And I made it a friends and family edition, if you will, in the sense that the doctors from the EntreMD Business School, the alumni from the EntreMD Business School, they could attend it, they could bring their friends and stuff like that. So it was a whole lot of fun. But after the very first day, I asked the doctors who attended it, I said, hey, this is a pop-up phase group for it. I want you to go introduce yourself and all of that and share your biggest ahas, your biggest takeaways. And on that first day, we talked about what is the foundation of everything, which is becoming a 7-figure CEO. Your business is not going to become what you're not, right? So the starting point is the transfer. Like I have to change and then everything after that changes. And so it was so powerful. You guys know that I talked about, like this big, hairy, audacious goal I have of helping 1,000 physicians cross the 7-figure mark or make their next 7 figures in revenue. So if they've never hit $1 million in revenue for a year, they hit that. If they have not hit 2 million or 5 million or 10 million, whatever their number is, they hit that, right? And so it's a very interesting goal. I'm very excited about it. And I was introducing this to the doctors because the whole 5 days was all about walking people through the entire framework, right? Becoming the 7-figure CEO, 7-figure math, 7-figure moves, a 7-figure momentum, 7-figure team, like all of those things, like end to end. So we can understand what we're building, right? Where every day when you get up, okay, this seems like a small block, but it's a small block of this big thing that I'm building. So anyway, I asked them to share their ahas and all of those things. And I want to give you 7 of the ones that, came up and were a lot of fun and all of those things. It's going to absolutely rock your world. Okay. Okay. So the first thing is your business will not rise above what you think about it. And this was really like it came up for a lot of people as an aha that they have. Your business will not rise above what you think about it. When I was, in my journey as a physician, I did not pay too much attention to what I thought about things, right? But the bottom line is, at the end of the day, you'll find that your thoughts and your reality are fairly close, except you started using your mind to kind of pull yourself out of your current reality into the reality that you want. And to some people, this may sound woo-woo or any of those things, but at the end of the day, you are not going to act in a way that's inconsistent with the way you think. It's just not going to happen. So you are going to produce the results that mirror your thoughts at the end of the day. So if you think I can never do 7 figures in revenue, I'm not the kind of person who can do 7 figures in revenue. I can't lead the kind of team that will do 7 figures in revenue. This business is really not that. It could never generate 7 figures in revenue or 2 million or 5 million or 10 million. Your business is just not going to do that, right? And so you have to get into this habit of entertaining thoughts that in the beginning, you're like, I don't even know how I would do that. But you entertain the thought. You entertain the thought. And so, when we were talking about this, I remembered a doc and she has a cash pay practice. At the time, she had a personal brand. She didn't even have a practice. And I was hosting an event in Atlanta, Georgia. It was our business makeover mastermind. It was actually our first business makeover mastermind. And in that mastermind, I had made a decision that I was going to help the doctors in the EntreMD Business School elevate, like massively elevate the way they think. And I understand what that means. It's challenging because that means I'm going to need to confront limiting beliefs and all of these things. And I was like, I'm going to introduce the 7-figure mindset, 7-figure math, all of these things. And the way I like to describe it is I had worn my armor and I had braced for impact. Because I was like, I knew people would be like, what is she talking about? What is she talking about? So I got up there and I remember the first day or so, I'm writing 7-figure mindset. And you could literally hear a pin drop like, what? And I was like, okay, guys, this is where we're going. This is what we're going to talk about. This is what this whole event is about. Not just the mindset, but 7 figures and all of those things. It was such a great event. And there were so many shifts. And that doctor this year, because then she had a personal brand, then she started practice and all those things. This year, she's on track for her first $1 million in revenue, right? And she was the one reflecting and saying, I remember when you said that, I wrote it in the board. I was like, what? But Here she is. So we have to change the way we think about our businesses, right? My business is seven-figure business. My business attracts this kind of team. My business attracts these kind of clients. Like, we have to start thinking of those things. And there are many things we can use to provoke the thinking. One of the things is, vision boards. That's the thing that is really powerful that people do. And it's not a joke. It works. It works. It works. It works. Okay. The other thing, and which is one that we are really experts at, is being in a room of real life vision boards, right? And so in the EntreMD Business School, you will find doctors having other doctors in the school on their vision boards, because this person is either creating the kind of revenue they want to create, or has the kind of team they want to have, or they show up in the middle of challenges the way they like to show up, or they're dominating on stage the way they like to dominate on stage. And so it's not just pictures, but you're seeing real people do this every single day. And every time you see it, it changes you. It changes the way you think about your business. It changes what you think is possible for you, which then goes on to create all these other changes. So that's the very first thing. So ask yourself, what do I think about my business? And not what would I like to think about my business? Or what do I think about my business in the one moment when I sit and try to carefully think about my business? Like, what is my default thinking about my business? If the default picture you have of your business is not what you want your business to be, is not in line with the revenue goals or impact goals that you're chasing, then you need to change it, because your business will not rise above that picture. And if for any careless reason it does, it will come crashing down back to, like, what you think about it is the thermostat. It is what determines, right? And so even if, think about a building, right? It's 72 degrees and all that stuff. And then at night, the temperature drops to 60, right? In the beginning, it may seem like the building is trying to get a little cooler, but the thermostat that is at 72 will make sure that the temperature stays at 72. If it's 72, if it needs to turn on the heat, whatever it needs to do, it will do it. You're not rising above it, right? In the same way, if we don't change what we think, we're just going to reproduce what we think. Okay, so it's so important. So important. So that's number one. Number two, which is a fun thought, is you are not fixed. You can evolve. You're not fixed. You can evolve. And not just that, but there's evidence. You have evidence that you can evolve. Because once upon a time, you were a pimply teenager. Nobody will let you near a patient. Nobody will let you intubate anybody. Nobody will let you put in IV lights. Nobody will let you replace hearts and lungs or do brain surgery or all these amazing things that you do now. But you became that person. And it took you a minute. And it took you a process. And you had to go to medical school and residency and fellowship and all of these things to become that person. You've done it before. And at that event, I asked the people, I said, hey, you've done this before, and it made you this phenomenal physician that you are. I'm only asking you to do this one more time. I'm only asking you to do this one more time. And that's the same thing I'm asking you listening to this. I'm only asking you to do this one more time, to evolve, to become the kind of person, to become the kind of entrepreneur who can run a seven-figure business, who can add 7 figures in revenue, who can have that level of impact that you have to be rewarded with 7 figures or multiple 7 figures, right? So you can become that person. And I'm going to stop and say this, right? And I say this because it comes up a lot in physician circles where people will say things like, well, I'm just going to Google my way. Okay. You can Google your way to many things. You can Google your way to maybe start a business. Maybe you can Google your way to create some revenue and all those things. But if you are going to build a world-class 7-figure, multiple 7-figure business and continue on that path, the same way you needed an education to become a physician is the same way you need an education to become an entrepreneur. The same way you had to put in reps, whether they were intubations or surgery, over and over and over, being given the gift of accountability is the same way you're going to need to do it to become a rock star entrepreneur. So, for instance, when I started off as an entrepreneur, I had to go through the school of hard knocks, and things took me longer than they needed to take me because I didn't know that I could learn faster with mentorship and community and accountability. I did not know. And the second I found out, I never stopped. And so I want to invite you, even if you're somebody who's like, I'm not sure about, like, I'm on your side. Even if you're like, I'm not really sure about this. I don't really know if this will work for me. I just have some questions about the structure of this part to see if I can make it work in my life. Even if you're like, I don't even understand how I can be an entrepreneur. Like, how can I do that? What is the process? Rather than do nothing, book a call. EntreMD.com/call. Book a call to talk to someone on my team and ask your questions. If what you need is clarification, we will give you that. If what you need is you need to understand the structure, we'll give you that. Let us show you this is what we do. Let us show you people it has worked for and all of those things. And you can come to your own decision. But I want to invite you not to stay in the valley of indecision, because not doing anything is not going to help your process of evolution. One of the things that has made the most difference, I recorded this on my birthday when I turned 46. One of the things that's made the biggest difference is I have chased my evolution more than anything else, right? Like 7 figures, that's amazing. How do I become a 7-figure entrepreneur? Have a best-selling book, that's awesome. How do I become the kind of person who can have a best-selling book? Hire high-capacity team members. How do I become the kind of person who can find, hire, and lead and hold accountable these kind of team leaders? Your evolution is where all the breakthroughs are. That's where it is. That's the starting point, because you are not going to act in a way that is inconsistent with who you think you are. If you don't think you are the kind of person who can hire X kind of person, you will not hire them. I can give you all the strategy in the world. You won't do it because you have to evolve. It's a process, but it's so worth it. Okay. Number 3, breakthrough idea. What if is $1 million question. What if? What if I could generate 7 figures in revenue? What if I could generate 10 million in revenue? What if I can hire this practice administrator? What if I could attract 100 clients? What if I could have a #1 podcast? What if I could partner with this other person who will make my business explode? What if I could show up confidently on camera? What if I could dominate on stage? What if? Because that question, what it does is it takes away the pressure of, oh, I'm not the kind of person who can do it and all that. And it's like, it's like an exploration. It's like curiosity. It's allowing yourself to be curious without having the pressure, right? Like you must do this now. It's just like, what if I could? What if I could? And it unlocks creativity. It unlocks your ability to visualize those things being possible. It gets rid of the pressure so you can put yourself in those shoes. And once you do, you start seeing things that you did not think were possible as things that can be possible. This is a question I asked before I did my first 7 figures in my private practice. I was like, I heard Brian Tracy say, make $1 million. You can give it all away for all I care, but make it for the person you have to become to make it. And I was like, well, what if I could generate $1 million in revenue, right? First time I had a thought about $1 million in EntreMD, I was like, what if I could generate $1 million? What if I could generate 2 million? What if I could? And on, right? Okay, so it's $1 million question. It's a question you want to learn to ask yourself regularly. If you can ask yourself daily, when you see something, it's like, oh, I can't do that, or I am not that. You just throw the question by it. Well, what if though? What if I was? What if I could? Right? Okay. All right. Number 4. How can I is another $1 million question. Okay. Make 7 figures in revenue. I can't make 7 figures in revenue. It's a statement of finality. It's a statement of finality. Like, I can't do it. The end. But what if you said, how can I make $1 million in revenue? The thing I like about this is it makes it a game. There was a vision retreat that we had for the students in the EntreMD Business School that we had. I want to say this was Fort Lauderdale. And I got crayons and all of these things and put it on their desk. I'm sure they're like, what is going on here? Until it was time for them to actually start documenting their vision. I'm like, sometimes we feel like, oh, it's permanent. What if I'm not getting it right? And all of this stuff. I want you to look at the crayons. I want you to think like we're kids. We have blank papers. We were making up our dreams, what we want to see. Like, allow yourself, right? So in the same way, I want you to treat it like a game, like we're free. We're just playing around with stuff and asking questions like, how could I though, right? How could I generate $1 million in revenue? What would have to happen? How many clients would I see? How many patients would I see? What kind of team do I need to have? And all that. How could I generate 5 million in revenue? What would need to change about the way I do my services? What needs to change about, my operations? Does there need to be another service? What kind of team do I need to have? Like, it's a game. It's a game. I have a dry erase board, and Makita will tell you this. Makita is our success manager. If you haven't met her, and if you book a call, that's who you speak to. She's so fun, and she's a real physician ally. And I would get a dry erase board. I'm like, hey, what if we did this? What if we did an event and the revenue from the event was 2 million? How would we pull that off? Actually, I've done that exercise with my daughter. I did it with her when she was 10 or 11. I'm like, come have a seat. Like, if mommy did an event and we did 2 million in revenue, what would need to happen to pull that off, right? And we just start playing like, how can I? How can I? How can I? And it is amazing. Once you start doing that, you start creating new neural pathways in your brain where every time you see something challenging, impossible, all that stuff, and your mind offers you that it's impossible, you're like, wait, you're like, how could I though? Right? And sometimes you get the answer right away. Sometimes you solve it for days, weeks, months. It's okay. It's a game. It's a game, but it will make you a person who is so creative when it comes to your ability to get results. Okay. So that was the fourth thing. How can I? It's another $1 million question. The fifth thing, your clients, this is so important. Your clients are people who are willing and able to pay. They are willing and able to pay. Okay, so this came up because one of the sessions raised her hand and asked the question, said, what do you do when you have, patients who are in transition and can no longer pay you? Okay, who can no longer pay you. And so we had this whole conversation. I think I'm going to do a whole podcast episode around it. And we had this whole conversation and I said, listen, at the end of the day, I can't tell you exactly what to do. But what I can tell you is this, you're going to need to develop a policy for that. If you decide from the goodness of my heart, in my cash pay practice, if somebody's going through a difficulty, I can let them have a month per year where they don't pay and I'm okay with that, then you build that. But you also have to do the math to make sure that if all of your patients were doing that, you still have a sustainable practice. Like you still have to do the math. You're still a business. You're not a charity. And why that may seem like, oh my goodness, you can take care of them, just take care of them. This is the deal. If you serve patients in a way that is not profitable, you will have to shut your doors. And if you shut your doors, nobody gets the great care that you offer. Nobody gets it. And the other thing is that you are the one who would train your patients on how to treat you. If you train them and they know I don't have to pay my bills, because I hear doctors say this all the time. Oh, this person keeps texting me in my cash pay practice and they haven't paid me for 5 months. I'm like, how are they your patient? How is this person your patient? And you may say, but what are they going to do? You are not the federal government. You cannot fix this problem. You can pick a policy, a profitable policy that gives you some bandwidth, but you cannot just say, I'll take care of everyone irrespective of their ability to pay. You do not have an unlimited amount of resources. You legit cannot do that. She's like, what if they can't pay and they just can't pay? I'm like, then they're not your patient. And you might want to just find resources. Like when people can't pay, these are the places I send them to, because there are places that will take care of them, that have funding, that have grants, that have all of this. It's not you. You don't have that. Now, if you want to build your practice that way, then go get the grants and go do all of that stuff. But some kind of way, we live in an economic world and your business cannot work without the economic game being played. So at the end of the day, this is what I said. I said, for your practice, your patients are people who are willing and able to pay. If there's somebody who can't pay, period, they're not your ideal patient. Like they're just not. You can still help them by pointing them in the right direction. You can help people going through transitions by saying, oh, I would take a month off if you must, but they're not going to pay. And the truth of the matter is many people who are not paying their doctors are paying everybody else because they know doctors are predisposed to going like, oh yeah, that's okay. What are we going to do? I've seen many people who they're not paying their primary care doctor, but they're paying somebody who does some very interesting non-validated tests, paying them hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of years, right? Like, so as much as 50 grand a year. But the primary care person who's charging them $100 a month, they'll tell them I can't pay. Okay, so your clients are people who are willing and able to pay. If they're not willing and able to pay, they're not your clients. This is the way business works. Now, if you want to set up a charity, if you want to set up a nonprofit and you want to raise money for that, that's different, and do that. But if you bring the nonprofit rules into a for-profit business, your business will collapse and you will serve nobody. Okay, moving along. Okay, number 6, this was a fun one. Mindset work, like taking a shower, must be done daily or it will stink. Right? Because you don't outgrow, this is the thing, you don't outgrow any of the basics of building a business. You do not outgrow the mindset work. You do not outgrow the revenue generation skills. You do not outgrow the dominant brand building. You do not outgrow building a profitable team. These are not things you outgrow. These are things you get better at. They're not things you outgrow, okay? And so if you stop working on your mind, just the same way if you stop taking a shower, you start stinking, you stop working on your mind, it will start stinking. And then your business will reflect your mind, which means that your business will start stinking, right? And so when do we stop with the vision boards? And when do we stop, with the real life vision boards? And we have a tool we call Reinvention by Imagination. When do we stop with that and all of that? We don't stop. We don't stop. And every new level you want to go to, you are going to need to do the work over. So if I want to go from 6 figures to 7 figures, forget that. If I want to go from an employed physician to a physician entrepreneur, I have to evolve. Like my mindset has to evolve. If I want to go from physician entrepreneur to 7 figure physician entrepreneur, needs to evolve. Want to go to multiple, needs to evolve. Want to go to 8 figures, needs to evolve. So the mindset, you don't outgrow it. Right? The brand that got you to, highly sought after employed physician is not going to get you to a 7 figure business. The brand that got you 7 figure business is not going to get you to 8. Do you see what I'm saying? Like all these things, all the basics, we need to keep working on it. But the mindset work, like taking a shower, must be done daily or it will stink. Okay. May not stink the first day, but it will surely stink. All right. Number 7. And number 7 is one of my favorites. And that is that the price of greatness is discomfort. The price of greatness is discomfort. When it comes to entrepreneurship, we are not looking for comfort. If you want to thrive as an entrepreneur, you want to build a 7 figure business, multiple 7 and all that, you're not embracing comfort. In fact, you are embracing so many uncomfortable things. So you get to the point where you've put in enough reps that you're comfortable being uncomfortable, which is where I am now. So comfortable being uncomfortable. Like I just know the feeling. It's a very familiar feeling. I've navigated that feeling so many times that I'm just like, I guess it is what it is, right? And so many doctors in the EntreMD Business School, that's the same thing. When it happens, it's just like, it's just mountains and valleys that, that's what we're doing here. They embrace it because they know on the other side of it is greatness. On the other side of it is a portion of greatness that they haven't experienced yet, right? So we don't fight for our comfort. We fight to be uncomfortable, doing the right things, right? Uncomfortable, working with my mind, addressing those limiting beliefs, sitting with the discomfort of the picture of who I can become and all of those things. The discomfort of marketing, the discomfort of visibility, the discomfort of selling, the discomfort of raising prices, the discomfort of hiring higher caliber team members, discomfort of holding my team accountable, like all of that. If you run away from it, you cannot be great. You can't build a 7 figure business. You can't have a ton of impact. Like you just can't. You gotta embrace discomfort. So this brought us to this point where we're like, I guess we'll just do it. And so the first day we created this pop-up group where I said, okay, let's get to work immediately. Go into the group, put a picture post, introduce yourself, share your biggest aha, and all of those things. And it was so fun to see all these doctors posting. I was like, 7-figure CEOs don't lurk. We don't lurk. That's not what we do. 7-figure physician CEOs don't lurk, right? And so if you can embrace this, and many of you, like even the discomfort of evolving, the discomfort of being in a place like the EntreMD Business School, the discomfort, like all of that, it's just like, now it's time to swim in it. We swim in the discomfort till we become comfortable in the discomfort, right? Okay. So just wanted to throw that out. I thought it was super powerful. These were all the things, these all came out from just day 1 of the 7-figure leap challenge, which was a 5-day challenge. And oh my goodness, was it so life-changing for the docs that were on there. And these things right here they're really transformational for you as well. Okay. So what I want you to do is I want you to take these 7 things. I want you to write them down. I want you to make decisions, right? Like I'm going to embrace discomfort because I want to be great. I want to become all that I can be. I want you to decide I'm going to do my mindset work, every single day, and all of those things because this is what is required and all of that stuff, right? Because this is the deal. For 2026, we want to support 1,000 physicians to help them cross their first or next 7 figures in revenue because physicians can. Physicians can. And we are going to do the work to make this the new floor. If you choose, this is the new floor. Like you can do this. You can give it all away for all I care. You could do whatever you want with it. It's not necessarily about the money. It is about the money. I don't want to make it seem like money is not a thing. It is a thing. But it's not the first thing, right? Okay. So you can give it away if you want, but I want us to evolve to become the kind of people. Why? Because it's good for you. It's good for your family. It's good for your community. It's good for the physician community. It is good for the healthcare space. We need empowered physicians because it will take empowered physicians to turn the healthcare space right side up. Nobody is coming to do it. We are the ones who are going to say enough is enough. This is the way it's going to be from now on. And we cannot do that from a disempowered space. We need to do that from an empowered space. So I want to invite you. You saying yes to making your first 7 or next 7 figures in revenue is actually part of you being the Calvary. It is part of you changing the narrative for physicians everywhere. It's part of you being the answer for the healthcare space, the answer that 330 million Americans have been waiting for. Okay. So it's good for everybody concerned. So say yes to it. If you've been thinking about the EntreMD Business School, entremd.com/call, and we'll get you on the call and answer all your questions and walk you through all of it. Okay. Absolutely rooting for you. And if you are taking the challenge, like I'm going to be one of the 1,000, just send me a DM or a PM on Facebook or Instagram and say, Dr. Una, I'm going to be one of the 1,000. Okay. Because we're going to be celebrating this like wild over the next 12 months. Okay. Rooting for you. See you on the next episode of the EntreMD podcast.